Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's video lecture, and we continue covering the urinary system. So let's very quickly look at the major organs of the urinary system. So we have kidneys that are major excretory organs. We have two ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. So let me pick up my pen over here. So again, we have kidneys that are major organs. So you make urine within the kidneys, then you convey urine toward the urinary bladder, and you convey it within a ureter. So we have two tubes, right and left ureter, and they transport urine from the kidney to the bladder. Urinary bladder is a temporary storage for urine, and then you remove urine through the urethra outside of the body, right? So those are our major organs. Now, here's the function of kidneys. You remove toxin, metabolic waste, excess ions from the blood, regulate blood volume, chemical composition of your blood, pH of the blood. Those are the major function. All right, so pretty much you need your excretory system, you need your kidneys and ureter and urinary bladder and urethra so you can filter your blood, right? So your blood picks up lots of metabolic waste products from your cells. So your cells are busy, right? They doing lots of chemical reactions. So within every single cell of your body, you have lots of chemical reaction going on. And as a result of those chemical reactions, you produce lots of metabolic waste. Metabolic means result of reaction. So this metabolic waste need to be removed, right, out of the body. And you do it like, for example, carbon dioxide, it's also metabolic waste. You remove it using your respiratory system, you exhale it. But you make, for example, uric acid or ammonia. That substances need to be removed by your kidneys. So you're going to bring this blood to your kidney. You're going to filter blood out of all the products that you don't need, including metabolic waste and plus excess water, excess salt, right? You remove it in the form of urine, and your clean blood, back in your circulation, returns back to your circulation. Again, picks up oxygen, picks up nutrients, deliver everything to your cells, get all the waste product, carbon dioxide, takes it to your excretory organs, right? That's the major function of your kidneys. And plus they have endocrine function, activation of vitamin D, but I cover this part in the first lecture on the urinary system. So make sure you watch my first video that I, talk more about those functions, right? I also already cover where kidneys are located, they are retroperitoneal, and so on. I also cover these blood vessels. And remember, we also said that, so if you look at your kidney has a cortex and medulla, and within cortex, you have structures that we call renal corpuscles. And in cortex and in medulla, you have lots of tubules. And proximal tubule, loop of Henle, distal tubule, and renal corpuscle make a nephron. And nephron are functional unit of kidney. So those are nephron that filter your blood and form urine that you remove out of the body, right? So that's all was within our first lecture. But now let's go ahead and look at ureters, urinary bladder, and so on, right? Now when when urine is formed inside the kidneys, you transport it to your urinary bladder, and those tubes that transport urine are called ureters. So you have right ureter, left ureter. So right there, they carry urine from kidney to bladder. It's not a passive movement. It's actually moved by peristalsis, and peristalsis is contraction of smooth muscles. Of course, you would have probably some passive movement down the gravity, but most are done by contraction of smooth muscle within those tubes. So here's the histology. This is a cross section of a ureter. So you can see it's covered by connective tissue called adventitia, right? So here's the name, adventitia. Then we have smooth muscle layer, and then we have epithelial layer. So over here, kind of like a little bit different colors, that epithelium and lumen. So inside the lumen is space, and inside this lumen you have urine. Now this epithelium over here is transitional epithelium with goblet cells. So goblet cells produce mucus, and transitional epithelium, you should be familiar with this epithelium, found in urinary blood and a ureter, and it has this ability to be stretched. Right. Then we have urinary bladder. It's partially retroperitoneal. Retroperitoneal means you are not inside peritoneal cavity. Is highly distensible. That means it can stretch a lot, and it can hold 500 to 600 milliliters of urine. Also covered by transitional epithelium. So if you look here, we have transitional epithelium. We have a special structure. It's areola connective tissue called lamina propria, similar to your gastrointestinal tract, lining of your gastrointestinal tract. And then you have muscle. Muscle is not here, it's submucosa over here first. So we have mucosa, because epithelium and lamina propria, this is called mucosa, and then we have submucosa, then we have muscles, smooth muscles, and because it's partially retroperitoneal, so it will have a special covering over here called adventitia, and superior part covered by serosa. The muscle of urinary bladder has a special name. It's called a detrusor muscle. It also has rugae, and rugae are folds. So you see this fold over here, that's what rugae are, and it's allow you to increase surface area. Another interesting structure here, you see this opening and this opening, those are opening of ureters, ureteral opening. So you have, ureter, it's need to bring urine inside the bladder, so it must have some opening. So one opening here, one opening over there, and this is the opening of the urethra. And actually there is a very distinct area here called trigone. Right, so I think we will see on the next slide. So this is called trigone. So trigone is the area that is underlined by two openings of ureter and urethral opening. Also, because this is smooth muscle, remember that's a smooth muscle called detrusor muscle. Now over here, this muscle became kind of circular, and this is internal urethral sphincter. So when muscle contract, it closes the urethra, so you don't urinate. And this called urogenital diaphragm. This is skeletal muscle, and it has also sphincter that is external urethral sphincter. And also when the sphincter contracts, you close the opening of the urethra. This is the ones that you can control, and external urethral sphincter, you learn how to control it at age, 2 or 3, when you're 2 or 3 years old, when you learn how not to pee in your pants and you stop wearing diapers, right? That's a skeletal muscle under voluntary control. Internal urethral sphincter is under involuntary control. Well, now urethra. So urethra transport urine from bladder outside the body. It begins inferior and central to two urethral opening of the trigone. So that's what I just told you, because you do have, maybe if you look at the female anatomy here. So here's your ureter, and this is opening of the ureter, another opening, and this is opening of the urethra. So this area is trigone. That's why urethra begins inferior, so obviously it's inferior to this opening, and central, so right in the middle. I already told you we have internal, right there, smooth muscles, and external urethral sphincters. Another interesting thing about this trigone, this is where you have lots of stretch receptors, and when your urinary bladder is full, those stretch receptors fire and they send signal to your brain that you have a full bladder and you need to urinate. And also inflammation, like if you have infection, for example, bacterial infection, it used to be persistent in this trigone area. And when you have inflammation, you activate those neurons as well, and you feel like you constantly need to go pee. Now, male and female urethra are different. Well, first of all, male urethra, it's inside penis, so it's pretty long structure, so it's about 20 centimeters long, and female urethra is short, and it does have some clinical significance, because if you have a short urethra, and urethra opens to the exterior, so there is a higher chances that bacteria will move through a short urethra inside the bladder, and females have higher chances to have inflammation of urinary bladder, right? A higher probability, higher chance to have inflammation compared to male, because you see it's like, oops, long way to go for bacteria. Now, also in a male, urethra are shared with a reproductive system. So in males, reproductive and urinary systems are not completely separated. In females, we do not share urethra with reproductive system because females have vagina. Male urethra has 3 parts. This gland inferior to urinary bladder, this is prostate gland. So it's only found in males, right? So that's a male anatomy. So this is prostate gland, and urethra goes right inside through this prostate gland, and this part of urethra is called prostatic urethra. Then this is our urogenital diaphragm. This is where external sphincter is. So this part of urethra called intermediate urethra, right here. And the ones that inside the penis called penile urethra. So prostatic, intermediate, and spongy urethra. Penile or spongy urethra over here. And we have external urethral orifice, that's an opening to the outside, the same as female, by the way. So in female, we do not divide urethra into parts, but in males, we do prostatic, intermediate, and spongy urethra. and another name for intermediate is membranous urethra too. So you can, you might hear membranous urethra, it's the same as intermediate. Or penile urethra is the same as spongy urethra. I don't know why it says 4 regions here, it's actually only 3. So this is just a typo. Now, and a little bit about homeostatic imbalances. Renal calculi. Renal calculi is what we call kidney stones. This is extra excess crystallization of calcium, magnesium, and uric acid salts. And those kidney stones or calculi, if they grow large, they can block the flow of urine. So you can see over here, we have kidney stones inside the pelvis, right? So that's a pelvis, and this is a ureter. So they block the flow of urine. Those are smaller pieces, but again, they can grow bigger. So large stones block ureter, that will increase the pressure and pain. It can be due to chronic bacterial infection, urine retention, increase of calcium concentration in blood, increase of pH of urine, right? But any of this reason might cause crystallization of those salts. We can break down these large stones into smaller one, right? And it's going to be non-invasive treatment by shock waves. So it's called shock wave lithotripsy. So when you use the shock waves to break down those stones into smaller one, and hopefully then you pass them with your urine. Incontinence is condition when you cannot control your urination. So actually mostly problem with sphincters. So even your sphincters, your external sphincter is relaxed, and you have a dripping of urine. Right, so it's usually from weakened pelvic muscles, and it's more common in females. I don't even know, maybe it's very, very rare condition for males. Again, why? Because male, they well, the first reason is usually because of higher concentration of testosterone in males, the muscles are better developed. So it's a really kind of might be some stronger muscles. Of course, there are some exceptions, but in a general, the muscles are still strong even when male became older. In female, we have muscle weakens when we get older, and then the sphincter does not close properly, and it might be some dripping of urine. So there is 2 types of incontinence: stress incontinence and overflow incontinence. So stress is well, when your body under, for example, some physical stress like jumping, running, jogging, laughing, sneezing, coughing, right? So every time you have this action, if your sphincter is not closed completely, you might have some drips of urine. Overflow, when it has a sudden release of bladder because of because the bladder overfills, right? Urine dribbles when bladder overfills, and it might even cause sudden release. In this situation, overflow incontinence can be a result of difficulties emptying bladder. So you constantly have excess amount of urine, and when it's overfills, then it start dripping, or can even just completely, a patient can completely release this urine, right, without really any intent. So there is no intention to do it, but it happens. This is what incontinence is. So, and I think this pretty much the last slide. Yes. So the next video will be about physiology part of the urinary system that I will try to record when I'm done with anatomy part. Right, okay, so that's it for this lecture. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched till the very end. I do appreciate it, and I hope it was helpful.